Empire. Horse race ownership is getting inspired by a European model.
And with our yearlings that we've just purchased, we're in that dream phase, which is an amazing phase where, you know, any new members are learning about the breaking process, how important that is. They're getting videos of the first time a horse is back. What everyone is dreaming of, Royal Ascot and, you know, Derby Day and all that right now.
That's Johne Murphy, the co-founder of Stride, who is bringing a tech-forward approach to syndicate ownership in the U.S. This is the Future Sport Podcast. I'm Bram Weinstein. Johne Murphy is a former international rugby player, but his horse racing roots are deep, and now he's trying to expand the reach and engagement of his partners through the use of technology. Our guest this week is Johne Murphy. He's the co-founder of Stride, which is a racehorse fractional investment business that started in Europe and is coming to the United States. Hey, Johne, how are you?
Very good. Very good. Thanks for having me on.
Before we get into some horse racing, which I'm a big fan of, by the way, an investor in it, I want to talk about your background a little bit, which is as a world-class rugby player in Europe. So take me through that from being a world-class rugby player to horse race enthusiast.
Well, I suppose I grew up in a horse racing family, so my grandfather and father would have both been owners. So all the time when I was growing up, there was always kind of a couple of racehorses that were out of training or some brood mares at home. So I suppose I was going racing in a buggy. So, but then the sports that would be kind of around my area, and I suppose my county would have been rugby. So I started playing that at 7. And then I moved up through the ranks through school, high school, I suppose, the equivalent. And then I ended up moving over to Leicester Tigers to play professionally over there, Leicester City. So I played there for 5 years. Then I came back home to Ireland and played for another 5 years. So a 10-year career. But unfortunately, my knee got the better of me towards the end. So I had to finish up early, unfortunately.
And then you went back into racing immediately because it was a family thing? Is that what happened?
Yeah, well, I was always interested in it, and I kind of dipped my toe in the water while I was still playing with kind of various people, kind of syndicates and stuff. And then from a social perspective, I started setting up my own syndicates when I retired in 2015. And yeah, it was always an interest of me. And I suppose having done something that you love as a job for, 10 years, a desk job didn't necessarily, appeal that much to me. Yeah. So I suppose I went down the syndicate route to, which is another love of mine into the horse racing space.
All right. So, what level was your family at? What level were you at? Are you racing at the highest levels of the Irish circuit, or what level were the horses at?
So it would have been a mixture. My father would have been part of a syndicate that finished third in the 1,000 guineas. So that would be kind of very high level. He also had a horse that ran in the Irish Grand National that unfortunately fell at the second last fence when it was actually winning. So. Yeah, so they would have been at quite a high level. I suppose our model is a bit different in the sense that we buy unraised yearlings and 2-year-olds, put them on the track, and then look to sell them in the secondary market. So in Ireland, there's varying maiden races based on your purchase price, and we would target them very heavily. Our trainer, Joseph O'Brien, world leading trainer. So we have a good purchasing team, and I suppose we're the next level. Some of our horses have gone on to grade 2 and so on after being purchased, but we look to to trade as we go, because that's it reduces the risk and gives you a really good chance of a return on your investment.
Okay, so let's talk about that a little bit. I am in a syndicate in the United States. I have been for a number of years. I'm a big horse race enthusiast. Tell me about how this model differentiates itself, which it sounds like in most of the cases with the syndicates, the lore of it is you're going to buy into horses. You can go watch them race at various different venues. Everyone knows no one's going to get rich off of this, but it's the fun of being around the sport. It sounds like you're looking at this from a little different point of view.
Yeah, we are. We're providing that service through our platform that we have, Stride. So everyone gets that engaged and that consumer user experience that you can deliver within the horse racing space, because it's so much fun. And we deliver all the content from sales ring the whole way through to winners enclosure via push notifications in our app. But our model is about spreading the risk across multiple horses, looking for them to run 2 or 3 times and then move them on. But the prize money isn't as great in Ireland as it is in America. So I suppose we're combining both consumer experience, fun, engagement, and then also the opportunity of a profit towards the end of the year.
If you end up in any of these investment models with a horse that looks like it's got a very high ceiling, are you inclined not to sell it and keep it under the ownership?
Yeah, so what we would do in that situation is we would discuss with every member, and then myself and Joseph as kind of the leading people within the syndicate, we would then make make a decision on where we feel we were going to go. If we felt we had a Derby horse or a Guineas horse or something of that high level, unless the offer was fairly substantial, we would look to keep and race on. I suppose the opportunity for us is that the prize money in places like Hong Kong, Australia, America, which is where we're actively trading with, you can purchase horses in between that 15 to 150,000 and get a very nice return on it, because of the opportunity to run for significant prize money in those, particularly in those three regions, is very important to us. So we each syndicate and each horse is done by a case by case basis, and if we feel we have a Group 1 horse, we're obviously going to look to keep that. But you don't stumble. That is the dream. We all we all search for that dream, and with our yearlings that we've just purchased, we're in that dream phase, which is an amazing phase where any new members are learning about the breaking process, how important that is. They're getting videos of the first time a horse is backed. But everyone is dreaming of Royal Ascot and Derby Day and all that right now. It's a small chance that we get there, but you have to dream and you have to enjoy that journey that is there.
But largely, and you're being a realist about this, most syndicates, they're not selling that dream, but they're giving you the idea that the horses are going to race and you're going to watch them throughout the course of their career. It sounds like you're trying to attract a very different customer here, though, one that understands that you are kind of in more of a investment business, flipping business of these horses than you are in learning about the horse and following its career. Is that fair to say?
Well, it's a mixture of both, to be honest, because through the content and our communications platform that we've built over the last 9 months, we deliver that educational experience. And I suppose that educational experience now and the enjoyment that you're getting, you're seeing their transition from a horse and lunging reins to riding, to understanding all the training methods. You're still building that real life connection with a horse because you get to name it, you get to see it, 2-3 times a month whenever you want to. You get videos from stable. So we're delivering that consumer experience. But as you say, we are realistic in what we're trying to achieve here. We want to deliver that incredible consumer experience, but then also make sure that we keep we attract new members, new owners to the game, and the best way to do that is for them to see, in our opinion, to see an exit at the end. And we started our first commercial syndicate 2 years ago. We have over 30 members. We've delivered over a 30% net profit over the last 2 years, and we have held every single member. And I would say probably 65% of those knew about horse racing, and 35% had no. It was a bit of a high risk gamble, I suppose, if you want to say that. They wanted to try something new. It was during COVID time, so the content that we were delivering to them, they're now lifelong. They're going to be lifelong racing fans. So that's kind of the consumer experience that we're able to deliver through our app and platform. And I suppose I'd be a bit of a purist in terms of trying to grow the game and bring people outside who have no understanding of it. And I know from growing up in it, it's such a content-rich industry, but the wider public and younger generations don't know anything about it. And I suppose we're digitizing that whole consumer experience. And at the end, we're also keeping the money together and then delivering a small bit of profit for the owners along the way.
This episode is brought to you by Chalk and Dog, which brings together the vast experience and expertise of two of the brightest agencies in media, sports, wagering, and gaming. With deep roots in the UK and the US, the agency offers expert guidance in everything from market entry to market expansion for startups as well as established global brands, powered by best-in-class communication and creative experts. Chalk and Dog has vast international experience and delivers results-oriented, tailor-made solutions for B2B and B2C organizations. You've mentioned, though, obviously, to get into horse racing, there's major risk involved. These are not safe investments. That's an incredible return that it's happening, but I assume you're not promising anybody anything in terms of returns, right?
Oh no, we're very clear on our model from start to finish. Our transparency and honesty in terms of everything from the fees to day-to-day running of the syndicate. Very open, very transparent. We don't guarantee any return. People that come in with their eyes wide open, and they understand this is very high risk. But there is an element of, as you have just said, of a new experience, a new enjoyment, and they're willing to take that risk because of the experience and the enjoyment they get out of the whole process.
Okay. All right. You are going to be taking this from Ireland and Europe and that racing circuits, and you're going to do this in the United States. As you, I'm sure, well know, racing is not racing everywhere. There are different rules in this country. Most of the races are performed on dirt in this country as opposed to the turf in Europe. So how do you kind of think through the different styles and the different types of horses that you are going to try to find when you put into an investment package that's not in Europe?
Well, I suppose there's a couple of things in that. There's tax incentives for people getting involved from an American standpoint when you set up syndicates in America through the 100% appreciation bonus that is there. And then also it's about a team. I come from a team background in rugby, so it's about who you surround yourself with. And you have to learn around the breeding that people that people need to. There's around the breeding specialities around the pages, understand the difference in those. So we have really good connections worldwide. We have a partnership with the likes of Coolmore. We know 3 or 4 different high quality agents who are based in America that have a track record in sourcing, sourcing high quality stock. So we'll be using them. So it's essentially using a team model that I would have grown up my whole life with, and surrounding yourself with the best people and moving on from there.
Do you think that there is a learning curve for your group to kind of get as ingrained as you are in the Irish racing system to learning the American racing system?
Yeah, there is. There is. I'm going through that process now. You know, we're not going to be, we're not going to have syndicates in America, you know, running probably until 2024. But my research started at the start of this year. I've been over to Kentucky multiple times. I was in Saratoga this year. So, you know, the learning process has already started. I've started developing relationships with a number of people. I suppose I'm quite lucky in the sense that there's a huge Irish American cohort that are involved in the American racing sector. So I'm using all those Irish contacts that I would have to start that process. So hopefully we'll be up and running, and we'll have a good bit of the learning done before we get our hand in the air and get something knocked down to us.
Okay. You've mentioned a couple times the technology, how you're keeping all of your members engaged. Can you kind of take us through how you think about the market and engagement with the members so that they can stay engaged with what their investment is?
I think it's really important that, you know, horse racing in general starts to move towards technology, you know, even around kind of times, you know, training times, you know, the training centers in America, if they had kind of GPS stuff, as we move on, the data that is available to people, and the content that is available to people from a horse racing standpoint is world class. And it's actually stuff that has been around the world for hundreds of years, but it's generally only people in the horse industry that know about it. That was a big thing that got me early, was when I started setting up syndicates, was bringing people that didn't know anything about horse racing into training yards. They thought a horse just ran up and down the gallops a couple of times. You threw a saddle on it, it arrived to the racetrack, it ran up and down, and if it won, it won. If it didn't, it didn't. But they had no understanding of the actual process that went through it. So that the horse went through, and coming from a professional sports background, they're highly tuned athletes. That's what they are, and each and every one has a personality. So we will, you know, you'll be able to understand through our communications and our app, understand the reasoning for its purchase and price, go the whole way through the training process, why a horse is in lunging range, why is it in leading range, the backing process, to the first time it's actually being ridden out of the stable, in the lunging arena, how a horse is shod, for instance. You know, there's how important a dentist is. Some people that I would speak to didn't even realize there was such thing as an equine dentist, and they now understand how important the dentist is in terms of the whole process. So it's to be able to deliver that in a sharp and slick way at the touch of a finger. So we've built a very simple, clear communications app that has everything within it. So you can voice note, videos, pictures. We have basically a WhatsApp within the platform for group communications. So no one needs to be outside of our app. You're able to watch the races live. You know, you have the full experience at the touch of a finger. And I think that's really important, that horse racing starts to realize that not only are we a sport, but we're also an entertainment industry to an extent. And we have to start entertaining people. We have to start pushing the content that we have out to the wider audience and trying to bring a new generation of people into the ownership space. And a lot of that is done. Most people are on their phones 50, 60% of the day. So to be able to do that in a clear and smart, slick way, I think is really important to having a communications app like ours.
You got the rights to show the races that your horses are in? Like, that's not hard to acquire?
Yeah, well, we have that's for Ireland. We're looking into moving. When we move into America, we're looking to do that. But we have a couple of advisors on our advisory board. Paddy Power from FanDuel. We're speaking to other companies in America at the moment about those rights. So we're able to use the connections and the advisories we have to open those doors. But yeah, we have that in Ireland, in England and Ireland, and that's something that when we do launch, we'll be able to deliver that to the people through the app. In late 2023, early 2024.
It's really interesting. Johne Murphy is the co-founder of Stride. Thank you so much for joining us.
That's great. Thank you very much for having us.
On the next Future Sport podcast, player tracking at soccer's highest level.
When we look at players, we focus at different stages of development, right? It's not the same if you are a 7-year-old that has never touched a football versus an elite player. However, there are certain things that are common, and we have a certain philosophy on how you play football, which is what we call beautiful football.
That's Georgina Busquet, Manchester City's Managing Director of Football Education, who discusses their partnership with PlayerMaker, where they hope to advance the metrics of world-class soccer players. That will do it for this episode. As always, the future is now. This is the Future Sport Podcast. I'm Bram Weinstein.